Hi everyone, it's just me today because I am doing the first episode where I'm answering your questions about what's happened, my coma, all of those kinds of things. In the first video that we uploaded, kind of giving a rundown on everything, it was quite a matter-of-fact video, which was intentional so we could get through the video. We kind of skipped over the emotions and I guess going in depth, you know, being away from Cyprus, all the really like heavy stuff. Obviously the content in general was quite heavy, but it was very surface level. I just didn't want to be an emotional wreck basically. However, in this video I might be an emotional wreck. I'm also strategically hiding our washing. Does anyone else just constantly have washing? I don't understand. That washing basket looks like that all the time. Anyway, this is my truth and this is my experience. This is how I view things. But just be mindful when you're watching this. Obviously this is through my perspective. I got loads of questions, so I'm definitely gonna do this in parts, but this is numero uno. Do you still believe you manifest everything in your life? Short answer, yes. Long answer would be, I believe I'm capable, me personally, of creating anything and everything in my life, good and bad. I have obviously gone through hell and like deep trauma, but the blessings that have come from that, the lessons that have come from that, the perspectives that have changed because of that, the love I feel for people, like everything that has come from basically dying has been astonishing. And what I saw, which we'll get into in other questions, in my coma, solidified, you know, the spiritual realm and energy and the subconscious mind as well. So I still believe in manifestation, probably even more deeply now, but I believe in the power of the tongue. And before I got ill, I kept saying, I just want to rest, I just want to rest, I want to be looked after. And then I was in a state of rest, and obviously I was looked after for months and months and months by nurses and doctors. And that isn't to say that I think people deserve negative experiences, I'm not saying that at all, but for me personally, I know that if I can manifest all the good things in my life, then I can manifest the hard times too. I know people sometimes get really offended by like manifesting and kind of that dialogue, but that's honestly personally what I believe. My stepmom was in a coma and so she heard us. Did you hear things in the room? How do I explain this? At the time, no. So I don't remember hearing anything around me, apart from obviously I was hearing things actually in the dreams I was having. However, when I woke up, weeks later, one of my nurses, she was Asian, and she put on some like, I think it was like flute music, and I was stopped in my tracks and was like, I heard this song in my dream, but it was part of my dream in the dream, but it was actually being played in the real world, if that makes sense. And it was Chinese bamboo flute music, and in my coma it was a nursery rhyme when I was flying in Malaysia, and yeah, so I think you do hear things, but it's not, for me, I didn't know that I was hearing things, but I didn't hear people speaking or anything like that. Do you have any sort of flashbacks or memories pop up? I do have them now, not as intense and not as triggering, and just not as difficult. Before, I was trying to work out what was in my dreams, what was in real life, what I'd been told, what I had personally felt. It was very confusing, and I think that I was trying to make sense of something that just couldn't be made sense of. Like, it's so hard. You're in this really weird dimension. You're on hard drugs, and obviously you've had a lack of oxygen, so you are fucked, basically. Yeah, I've had plenty of flashbacks. I've had to ask Lee, did this actually happen? Did I imagine this? In my coma dream, I was going through horrendous trauma in the actual dream. And there were like bad people in my dream, and when I woke up, I was still being sedated in the night time, so I was just in and out of like sedation basically. And this was in February, so although my kind of conscious reality memories started in March, and I tweeted March 8th, I actually woke up weeks before that, but I just don't really remember much. I was hallucinating. The people in my dreams were next to me in hospital. That was quite difficult, and I only really actually remembered that a few weeks ago. So yeah, I've had plenty and they can be really difficult. How has your experience impacted your spirituality? Physically, I don't like do many spiritual things at the moment. I haven't got back into my rituals that much, just because of being a mum and just being very busy, but also feeling a slight disconnect as well. I don't meditate every single day like I used to. All the kind of spiritual things I used to really do and really rely on, I don't anymore, but it's impacted me in a really positive way as well. So I 100% know that God is real, because I saw a being that presented himself as godly to me. I believe now he was Archangel Raphael. I would not have survived without God. The doctors, my nurses, everyone was saying to me, like, we can't actually believe that, one, you've woken up and you are so cognitively aware, no brain damage, no remnants of what's happened. Everyone, I'm not joking, every one of my nurses and my doctors said they prayed for me. And obviously, like, you guys are praying for me, everyone was praying for me, people that didn't even believe in God were praying for me. And I just know that God is real. I can't even explain it, but it's just a knowing in me. I knew it before, but it was always like, oh, this is just my truth. But now it feels like, no, this is the truth. In a negative way, maybe not negative, but just in a way I didn't really expect, was that I'm questioning a lot, because people often say, oh, they're at peace now, like when they're passing over. And obviously I passed slightly and then came back, but I wasn't at peace. I felt like I was in hell. I flew in my dreams. I saw Archangel Raphael in my dreams. I experienced like a fuck ton of stuff in my dreams that were incredible, but there was also the darkest of moments in my dreams. I didn't feel at peace ever. I get really funny now when someone passes away and someone says, oh, they're at peace now, and I mentioned that to Lee and he said, but you didn't actually pass over, you were on your way there and then you came back, which makes me feel a lot better, because there is this guilt and like shame with how I feel. I hope that makes sense. I'm trying to like just say my truth and not care what people think, but it is kind of hard because it's such a traumatic experience. Did you meet God? What was it like and how did it change you? When I first woke up, I thought I'd met God, and I feel like I did meet a God, but now when I think about it again, I definitely think it was Archangel Raphael, because it was a really, really, really big green figure. And when I say like big, I mean it was so big that like his eye was here, but his eye was here, like he covered the whole sky, and he was black, he had dreadlocks, but he was a luminous green. He was telling me about the Caribbean and lots of different things. Basically, he said to me, you cannot die. He gave me energy and said, like, go back now. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. That I have carried with me is that I'm going to live a long life. I'm filled with this energy from Archangel Raphael. He came to me in my darkest hour and said, like, you go back now. And the memory is very fleeting, but I know it to be real. I know that's what I saw. When you go through something like this, you do feel like you're mental. It's just mad. How do you feel about COVID now? I.e. no restrictions, no masks after your experience. So this might be a surprise to some people. COVID is only a small part of this whole experience for me. You know, being away from my family, being away from my baby, I don't like taking medicine or drugs. I just don't. Having to deal with that, having to advocate for myself in hospital, having to learn to walk again. There's so much of this journey that I don't actually think about COVID that much. It's obviously the reason I got ill, and in hospital it wasn't mentioned that much either, like barely. It's such a massive thing that's impacted the whole world, and obviously it's impacted my personal world so much. I can't let it make me live in fear. I can't, oh my god, why am I getting upset? I can't let it like control me. I'm exempt from wearing a mask because of my lungs being restricted. I feel like I can't breathe. I'm that kind of person where I just think like people will make up their own decisions about what they want to do, wearing masks or whatever. I just can't really let it bother me. I did have anxiety about going out, but that wasn't because of COVID. It was just about being around people, having my scar on show, my voice being different. Because when I first started speaking again, my voice was a lot quieter and even more deeper and like raspy. All the emotions and all of the trauma hasn't for me necessarily been linked directly to COVID, but just the world in itself and kind of my own perspective and my own trauma, because I had PTSD before this happened, and then this happened and obviously it's now 10 times worse. I just think like if you live in fear and if you constantly worry, then what was the point in coming back to live again? Now I'm here and I'm alive, I want to really live, and that's how I'm viewing it. Obviously like in a safe way, I want people to be safe, but all in all my anxiety around everything is kind of dwindling. Do you believe you visited heaven? No. I feel like I visited outside of heaven. Obviously I don't know what part of my dream happened when I went into cardiac arrest. Like we'll never know that, but I think it was probably when I was either flying or when I saw Archangel Raphael, but who knows. If I had let go in my dream, I was asked to let go or to hold on, and I was like, I'm fucking holding on, I've got a son. If I had let go, I think I would have gone and not come back. Did you know that you would wake up eventually? I gave them consent apparently to go into a coma, and obviously I was in hospital beforehand. I had Cyprus and I was awake and whatever, but when I was in my dreams I didn't remember any of that. I was dreaming, but I knew I wasn't dreaming. I couldn't wake up from it, and I knew that it would go on for a long time because there was so many facets to this dream. I went to so many places in this dream, there were so many people in my dream, so I didn't actually know I was sleeping to know that I needed to wake up or I was gonna wake up. But I think my higher self maybe knew I was gonna wake up. What I want to also mention is that I am not special. What's happened to me has happened to a lot of other pregnant mothers, and a lot of us have woken up. I've had ICU nurses message me about patients, obviously no names are involved. I've connected with other women who have gone through what I've gone through, and there must be some sort of motherly instinct to make us fucking wake up. All of us were on the brink of death. Some of us did die, and came back, and currently there's no physical issue with my organs, with anything, and I just can't believe it. I just can't. Like, how? What were your first thoughts waking up again? So when I first woke up, I don't really remember. I just remember being fucking hot. I had a fever, a temperature, numerous infections. It was just horrific, and I obviously couldn't move. At some points, even though the machine was saying I could breathe, I felt like I couldn't breathe. So the first few weeks I felt like were hell, but I know that I was asking for Lee, asking for Cyprus. I was on FaceTime every day. I recovered physically quite quickly with this arm because I would try and text everyone, FaceTime people, and to get my brain working I would remember numbers and the passcode to my phone, and that's kind of really helped me get back to like being me. How was transition back to eating solid food? What did you crave the most? So I was put on a feeding tube, and unfortunately the staff and dietitians didn't know that I can't really eat dairy, so that made me very, very ill. So I was on that. Obviously when I was in a coma, I was just on that. When I woke up, I was throwing up quite a lot and they couldn't work out why. And I was saying to them it was probably the drugs. I've basically gone from not taking any medication my whole life to taking like loads. And then we worked out that my feed had dairy in it. Eventually, when they felt like I could swallow properly, you've got to do like a swallow test. The tube came out and then I got put on high calorie shakes basically. They have fucking dairy in, so I threw those up and was like, guys, this is not on. And then the juice ones were fucking rank. So basically I just refused to eat anything until the tube was out and I could have soft foods. So I started eating things like pasta, mac and cheese, really buttery toast with like peanut butter on. I lost a lot of weight, so they prescribed me loads of peanut butter, mini cheddars eventually, and just things that I really like to eat, but I wasn't eating very much. And I don't think my eating came back really until about June, July. I couldn't just eat a lot basically. And I haven't been fussed by food ever since. Like, I love food and, you know, I eat healthy amounts, and I was signed off by my dietitian, but I just don't think about food ever. But I woke up basically craving just drink because obviously I had a temperature, a fever, and I was getting liquid through an IV because I was so thirsty. So all I wanted was Ribena and Capri Sun, which both have vitamin C in. So I clearly was craving vitamin C, and that is honestly, I drank gallons. I had 12 of each in the fridge and I'd have them every day, and they were ice cold, and oh my god, like the nurses were like, here she goes again with her Capri Suns, obsessed. And then it was tuna sandwiches, don't ask why, jerk chicken and rice as well. So yeah, this is the last question for this video because there's just loads of questions. I'm really happy that actually I haven't had a meltdown. Has it changed your outlook on life? Thank you for sharing your experience. It has, but I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't always like, oh, I'm so happy to be alive, I love everyone. It wasn't that. For the first month, 2 months, I was just in crisis, overwhelmed with what had happened, couldn't believe that I died, couldn't believe that I'd missed Cyprus's life, just overwhelmingly hard. And I remember thinking at one point that I wished I didn't wake up, because I was so sad. Like, in crisis, my PTSD was just crazy, and they say that ICU patients are so depressed, like it's like a thing. I was so depressed. Obviously I just had a baby. It was fucked basically. And it took me a while to actually be really grateful to be alive, because I was just so angry and I wanted to fight everyone, and I was just thinking, why me? And I went through all of that, like all the victim mindset. I went through the anger, the resentment, I went through all of it. I was angry at my family for being able to see Cyprus and I couldn't. The hardest part was not being with my baby, like him wearing outfits that I hadn't put together. Like, it was so pathetic, but honestly, that's my fucking baby. Like, not being able to breastfeed. I've been filming for so long, my camera just cut out. Yeah, I was in mourning. I was that person that, yeah, I thought death, they're in a better place, and then this fucking coma dream happened. I'm scared of death now. I'm scared of dying, mainly because I want to be alive. I want to see my baby grow up. I want to like go for walks, I want to go swimming, I want to see the world. Like, I want to live. It wasn't a quick thing, it wasn't an immediate gratitude for life. How could I be grateful? They wasn't sure if I'd speak again, if I'd walk again. Like, some people have the trachea in for life, and it's scary, it's so scary. But my baby is my fucking world, and like, I'm a good mom. I know that I'm a good mum, and I knew that I'd be a good mum. So like, being away from him was fucking horrendous. Him crying, I knew he was crying for me. So now my outlook is like, I want to live. I don't want to be the girl that lived. I want to be the girl that lived. And I want to show people to live life and how fucking important it is to live life. Like, fuck all this, you're too fat for this, or you're not good enough for this. Scared to tell people you love them, scared to be vulnerable, scared to be intimate. Like, honestly, like, it can be taken away from you in a fucking heartbeat. In a second you can be here and then you can't. So enjoy it for what you have today and just be really grateful. So that is the end of this Q&A. I have so many questions, so I will be doing more of them as the weeks and months go on. I won't be doing them like all the time, but when I feel the need to, I will. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all of your support. It doesn't go unnoticed, and just lifting us up basically, and just supporting us through the most difficult period of our lives, which thankfully we are now, you know, on the up. I will see you next time. Any more questions, leave them below and I will add them to the list of questions that I've got. And I love you. Bye.